Hello everybody and welcome back to our June Art Challenge. Each week in the month of June we are painting 3 paintings with a different theme each week, and this week's theme is folk art. And we're going to start with sketching out what we're doing here. You can start with a pencil if you're more comfortable with that. In fact, let's just do that because folk art is not my specialty, should we say. And so I'm just going to start in pencil to be safe. Sometimes it just feels better. As you may know, I often just jump right in with the paint because I just like to be loose, but I feel like folk art has a little more structure to it anyway. All right, we're going to start with a half circle for our rooster. And then we're going to kind of do a half oval for his head. All right. And let's give him his little comb, whatever you want that to look like. We're going to do a beak, just a triangle. The eye is going to be a little dot with a circle around it. And let's see, for the legs, if you know me, you know I like birds that look like they're wearing pants. So we're going to kind of do rounded off triangles. There we go. And then we'll do his little feet. And I'm just going to give him some big feet, actually. Just because we like whimsy around here. At least I do. Okay, so now for his tail, just have fun with it. You can do whatever you want. You can do just kind of like teardrop shapes. I'm going to do kind of a curled teardrop. I don't even know if that's the right description, but you know what I'm saying. All right, and then one more. You can do 5, 4. I'm going to stick with 3. All right, and then we're just going to, you could paint in your design right now, or draw it in, whatever you want, or paint it in. I think I'm just going to keep doing the pencil here. So we're going to give maybe just a little something like that. Dots. That. And maybe we'll repeat that here. You know, folk art, naive art, whatever you want to call it. It's really just fun. You know what I mean? We're going to do a little circle here. We're going to do a big circle here. And then that little circle, we're going to make it a flower. A very simple little flower. Okay? And maybe we'll repeat the dots. I think some common elements, at least that I see in folk art, are dots, lines, flowers, birds, kind of limited color palettes. Let's do a couple of just maybe really simple botanical something or other. And at least from what I see, things are not botanically correct. You know what I mean? So we are just going to have fun with this. You can do pointy leaves if that is something you prefer. Yeah, and mine are not very symmetrical. That's the other thing. There's a lot of symmetry in folk art. This is not that. This is kind of my own style of folk art. Oh, got to give them a little waddle here. Right? Are we missing anything? I think we're going to go with that. And let's just hop on in with our paints. I will show you what I'm using here. I'm using Scarlet, and then I am also using a mixture of Prussian blue and tree green with a little bit of cobalt in there. And then I might add a yellow or an orangish color. I'll tell you what if I do that. So that's another thing I was going to say. In folk art, I've noticed kind of limited color palettes. All right, let's get started. Now mine is pretty busy, so we'll see how this goes. I'm not real sure here. Let's just start with the tail. I feel like that's going to be the easiest because it's got the least amount of stuff going on. And we could have just painted the bird in first and then come back with our pen later. Let's see, I want the blue to be the biggest part. This is our mixture of blue and green that I told you about. And we can start light. You can always make it darker later. We're going to start light here. And then while I have blue on my brush, kind of just think about where else do I want blue? I think his head. We're going to put some blue in his head here. A little bit too much water on that, so I just tapped my brush on the paper towel. And we'll bring that blue around the eye. Still too much water, so I tapped my brush again just to soak it up there a little bit. And obviously, well, not obviously, but I'm going to do the comb. Isn't that what that's called? Red, and also his wattle, if that's what it's called. I can't remember things right now. Those are going to be red. I'm going to do his beak yellow. I'm just trying to see if there's anywhere else I want some blue. There might be, but I'm going to use a smaller brush to get into the flowers and the leaves and such. We're going to go in with yellow next. I'm going to use Indian yellow, which is this one here with Paul Rubens. And we're going to do his, what are these? His thighs? Yeah. We'll do his thighs yellow. I have way too much water on my brush, so I'm going to wipe it off there, soak it up, and then I'm going to go back into the pigment. Less water this time. Oh my goodness, I said less water and then it's the same. Struggles are happening. I'm in a big hurry tonight because I'm losing daylight. But that's okay. We will get it done one way or the other. If it ends up having to be a day late, so be it, right? I say that like I don't care, but I do, because that would bother me a lot. Okay, there's the little thighs. Way too much water in there, so I'm tapping my brush on the paper towel again, and I'm going to just kind of soak some of that up, the water. This one here that I'm working on now, I'm going to wait for that to dry to add more because it's just too wet right now. Now, this blue is dry, and so I'm going to come in with that same Indian yellow, and I'm going to paint the beak. And we're going to come in with our pens, our black pen and our white pen at the end. So if you end up getting some yellow in the blue or mixing any colors that you didn't intend to, that's okay. It's going to be just fine. And let's do the tail. Wiping my brush off on the paper towel. And then I think I'll do the center of the flower yellow as well. Trying to just kind of imagine which elements I want, which colors. And so then when I have the color on my brush, I can just be a little more efficient here. See if this one's ready to get some more yellow yet. Yep, it is. I'm going to do these parts yellows. Now, this might be a good time to switch to a smaller brush. Right now I'm using a size 6 round. And this would be a good, these are really little spots. But I'm just going to do my best and see what happens. Lots going on today and tonight. So I'm finding myself in a mad rush at the end of the day. And that's okay. It's not really a mad rush. I'm actually enjoying this. I'm not like, oh, I really enjoy it. Let's see. Gosh, I love those two colors together. Aren't they fun? Okay, now I am going to switch to my size 2 round. I'm going to go ahead. I was going to do red for one of these little tail feathers, but I just decided I love this yellow and blue together so much that I am going to do some just very minimal red. And I'm going to put this blue around the flower. I think I'm going to leave the petals white. We will see. Listen, I told you, I think it's good to plan your palette, and I kind of did. I knew which colors basically that I wanted to use, but I didn't plan the art out very well. But that's just life, Sometimes we gotta just do what we gotta do. And, you probably don't have to do that if you're not making videos. I just kind of put the pressure on myself to do challenges and that sort of thing. And I don't feel pressure like in a negative way. It's just like, ooh, I really want to get this done. As I said that I would. All right, I'm going to darken this. I'm calling it his thighs or his pants. You know, pants are way more fun. And then we'll come in and darken these up too. And since I'm just coloring in the same spot, I'm going to speed you through that. Now for our little leafy branches here, I'm going in with the blue because I like it so much. I thought I was going to come in darker with this. I thought, well, once I get the first layer down, I bet I'm going to want it to be darker, but I really like that bold yellow with the light blue. I think it's pretty sweet. We'll see how I feel once everything gets dry. And I'm going to add the red here. Before I add the red, you want to make sure the blue and the yellow are all dry, which they are. So I'm going to come in with my scarlet and do a little painting here. Add paint as needed. I do like that splash of red too. At first I thought, oh, I don't want the red to interfere with my sweet light blue and yellow, but I like it. Plus it's a rooster. I mean, really, when you add these elements, it just makes it, doesn't it? And, you know, I have half a notion to just like do all these crazy lines, but I'm also trying to remember folk art, naive art, trying to kind of stay somewhat true. Of course, if there are any purists out there, this is not true folk art, but I think for people like me, if I saw this, I'd be like, oh, I love that folk art bird. All right, and now we just need to decide if we want more paint or if we're just going to come in with our pen. I think for now, I'm going to come in with my pens and we will go from there. If I want to add paint later, I sure will. So let me make sure this is completely dry before I add any pen. Okay, hilariously, not only are we losing daylight because it's, let's see what time it is, 7:20, but we're getting storms, and so the sky is turning dark because of that. So let me just do a little outline of our rooster here. And I'm not going to be quite as loose with my outlines as I usually am, just because I'm trying to have I don't know how to explain folk art, you know? It's just got that rigid, to me, it's got a rigid feel to it. And I say rigid not in a negative way, because I just think folk art and naive art are just so charming. You can see, obviously, I'm speeding you through this because I'm literally simply outlining everything. I'm not adding anything else right now. I'm just outlining, and don't think that you need me to instruct you as I do that. And now I am going to add a couple things. I just decided to do a simple line in this tail feather as well as the bottom one. And for the middle tail feather, I'm bringing in my white gel pen and struggling here with the first dot because I realized that paint is not completely dry right in that first spot. Because when I move on, you can see it's doing just fine in the rest of them. And that's okay. I'll come back and try that first one a little bit. We get the gist here. I was going to do a background, but I think we just need to sign it because it's getting so dark. And there he is, our folk art inspired rooster. He's simple in shape, but he's full of character. And I really hope this inspired you to keep experimenting with colors and fun patterns and just being playful. I will be back on Thursday with another folk art inspired piece, and I hope to see you then.